Hello, I'm Brandy Yates, and we are here for the March is Women's History Month interview series on HOMTV. I'm filling in for Deborah Guthrie, and joining me is Lori Schafer, the interim fire chief for Meridian Township. Lori, thank you so much for being here.
Glad to be here.
So let's talk about, even though it's interim, you are the first female fire chief in Meridian Township's history, and you were the first female firefighter ever hired.
I was hired in 1989 by Chief Phil Johnson. He was the chief at the time. And June of '89 I was hired, and I happened to be the first female that the department has hired. So kind of groundbreaking at that point.
Right.
Not a lot of women were in the fire service then, or even now today. There's more now, of course, but then it was very unusual.
When you were first hired, how, so you said it was unusual. How did you kind of break into the whole, it was kind of all men. Mm-hmm. How was that?
There were some challenges. I mean, overall, it was a good experience. I had a great career with Meridian. You know, I was hired in '89 and I retired in 2014 and went up the ranks. A firefighter for 13 years, was a lieutenant for a couple of years, a captain for, I think, 3 or 4 years, and then my last 6 years, I was the battalion chief. So over the span of 25 years, I kind of held every position in the ranks. Yes.
First woman to hold those positions.
Yes, yep. And there's been a few afterwards. Currently, we have 4 on staff. Mm-hmm. 5 if you count Kristen, our administrative assistant, or 6 if you count me. So,
right.
But 4 as far as female firefighters now. So, but yeah, it was challenging. It was an easier adjustment, I feel, for me than it was for the guys, because prior to me being hired in 1989, I worked private EMS and worked 12 and 24-hour shifts with guys, and so I was used to, you know,
the dynamic.
Yes, absolutely. I was used to the dynamics, but these guys weren't, and so I feel it was more of an adjustment for them than me. But you know, there's, like I stated a little bit earlier, there were some challenges, but we got through them, and I think once they realized that that I could do the job, and I proved myself, that then I was in, so to speak, and I was just one of the guys then. So
she's a tremendous leader, great communicator, was a mentor to many of us, including me.
We've had a couple pretty memorable fires that we were able to get in quickly. She did a great job commanding. And
do you think it's harder for women in the fire department career to have to get that, to prove that you can do the job?
Good question. Yeah, I guess I would say yes to that. Because it's a male-dominated field, and with that it becomes that you have to prove yourself a little bit more. So there's that. But now it's not as uncommon anymore, right, to see a firefighter, a female firefighter, So it's hard even for the public. Right. I can give you some examples of even when I was the battalion chief and I was the one in charge of the shift for the day, and we'd go on a call, and I'd arrive, and they're supposed to meet with the homeowner, business owner, or whoever I needed to speak to regarding the incident. I'd introduce myself and go up to him, talk to him, but if there was a guy standing around me, a firefighter, whether it's an officer or a firefighter, they would automatically go to them.
Oh, okay.
And talk to them. And my guys, not my guys, the guys I worked with were great about it. They would say, she's in charge. So then
right,
they would talk to me, and then until it took them a few minutes to warm up to me until they realized I knew what I was talking about. Then they would converse with me regarding things, but it's just a default that people have, that in a male-dominated profession, that they just
it's something that's in the society that has to be broken.
Right, and we're making strides. Mm-hmm. It's getting better. So, and it will continue to as well. So
why back then, and even now, why choose this profession for you? What was the choice?
Well, kind of my story is I was, after I graduated from high school, I went to Lansing Community College, and I was just taking basic classes. I really didn't know what I wanted to do. I was leaning towards like the healthcare field. Mm-hmm. I was interested in that, and I was on a basketball scholarship there, and one of my teammates, my freshman year, was telling me how she was going to take some EMT classes, and she goes, "You might like it. Let's try it. Let's do them together." So I took it, and after like the first semester, I was hooked. And so from there, I graduated from EMT school. Then I went to paramedic school, and then I went and got my firefighter 1 and 2 certification, and then I hired in it at the township. So
why Meridian Township? Did you look at other places, or why here?
Yes, I did. I applied at East Lansing, and I applied at Meridian, I think at Delta as well. I was more drawn to the smaller departments than like at the time Lansing was and still is the bigger department. I was drawn to that. When I did my internships in the paramedic program, I worked at those, or I did my internships at those fire departments, and I was drawn to that. So, and to be honest with you, Meridian's, I went through their testing process, and they offered me the job first, and I stayed with them because I was happy there. So.
Okay.
So that's why Meridian, they called first.
Okay, good. Well, obviously it's paid off being in Meridian Township in the fire department the several years you were here. Now being interim fire chief, you said you retired in 2014.
I did.
So what were you doing in between that and coming back to the fire department?
Well, actually I drive school bus also for Okemos Public Schools. And I was doing a little sub-driving while I was still working at the fire department. I think I started there, and I started driving in 11, and of course retired in 14. And so I've been driving school bus, and kind of a semi-retirement job. It's only 25 hours a week or whatever, and it was just kind of a nice transition from working full-time, 50 hours a week at the fire department to this. And so with that, then this position came up with interim fire chief, and it wasn't on my radar at all. I'd never thought when I walked out in 2014 would I ever be back here, let alone being an interim fire chief. So
right.
So kind of a surprise to a lot of people, but the position came up, and I thought a lot of it, and gave it a lot of thought, and just decided to throw my name in the hat, and I was chosen. So I'm here now, and it's amazing how fast the time has gone. I think today's March 2nd, and I started January 1st, and 2 months later, bam, here we are. And I'm sure the next 4 or 5 months will go by just as fast. So it's been a good experience. I've enjoyed being back. The majority of these people that are working here, I worked with.
Oh, okay. I was going to ask you that.
There's a few new faces, not many. I've enjoyed that. I know most of them, probably 90% of them, and so it's been good. It's like a homecoming.
Okay. Welcoming you back into the department.
Yeah, it's good. It's I'm here to keep the train on the tracks.
Right.
I oversee daily operations, and and I'm with it being interim. It's also part-time, so I'm still driving bus, so I go drive school bus in the morning, take the kids to school, then I come to the fire department from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. And then
you've got a busy day.
Yeah, and then I go back and take them back home from 2 to like 4:30. So yeah, it's a busy day, but it's not forever.
Right.
And school will be out before you know it, and then before you know it, they'll have a new fire chief here. So
okay, and I think I only have time for maybe one more question. Okay. I kind of want to know the transition period from starting as firefighter to the different ranks you've been to now this leadership role.
Yeah, well, as a battalion chief, our department is made up of 2 shifts. So we have 2 battalion chiefs, and a battalion chief's roles and responsibilities to manage their shift. So I did that for 6 years, as I stated earlier. So it's kind of like this role, but I have a lot more responsibility now.
Right, now you're over the whole department.
Yeah, before there was a buffer. Like as a battalion chief, I could always look to the fire chief like, what do I do here? Well, I'm that person now, so that's different. So yeah, a lot more responsibility. But again, I'm glad to be back. It's a great group of men and women. They do a great job. They're hardworking, they're dedicated. They do amazing work. The department's busier now than ever. When my last year in 2014, I think our run volume was about 4,500 for the year.
Wow.
And just in 2017, it was at 5,200. This first 2 months of this year, we've gotten off to a fast start, and It just, you know, I don't know how they do it, but they do it, and they do a great job.
Okay, well, Lori, thank you so much for being in here.
Oh,
and
my pleasure. Thank you for asking.
groundbreaking for first female firefighter working up to the ranks, and now interim fire chief for Meridian Township. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Tune in on weekdays with Deborah Guthrie interviewing more influential leaders in our community for our March is Women's History Month interview series. Thanks for watching.